our next session. It's a fire chat moderated by Pradeep Gupta, Chairman, CyberMedia Group. And I would now like to call our esteemed panelists. Our first panelist, Akhil Gupta, Vice Chairman, Bharti Enterprises. Akhil is the Vice Chairman of Bharti Enterprises and has played a pivotal role in Bharti's phenomenal growth right since inception and has been closely involved from the very beginning in the growth of the telecommunications sector for the company, both organically and by way of various acquisitions. He has led the formation of various partnerships for Bharti and also has been instrumental in raising several billion dollars by way of project finance for the group over the years from global banks and bond markets. Welcome, Mr. Gupta. Our next panelist, P. Balaji, Chief Regulatory and Corporate Affairs Officer, Vodafone Idea. A member of the national leadership team, Balaji leads the company's regulatory, public policy, and government relations activities along with the industry advocacy, corporate communications, reputation management, and CSR. Prior to his role, Balaji was the Director, Regulatory, External Affairs, and CSR at Vodafone India. He was responsible for leading the company's regulatory, public policy, and government relation activities, and also the external affairs function overseeing corporate communications, reputation management, administering corporate social responsibility, and the Vodafone Foundation in India. Welcome, sir, to the panel. And our third panelist for this fireside, Sri Ravi Gandhi, President and Chief Public Policy and Regulatory Officer, Reliance Jio and Retail. He is an expert in public policy and regulatory affairs with a demonstrated career history in the telecommunications industry, skilled in business management, strategic planning, cross functional team leadership, and management. Welcome, sir, to the panel, and over to you, PG.
So thank you very much. This is a great panel because we have Airtel, we have Vodafone, we have Jio. Okay, so on one platform we have all the three telcos, and I think we can get very rich outputs out of this particular panel. We are also meeting at a time when the industry has it's one of the best years for the industry for several decades now. Last 12 months. I remember 5 years back when we were having a discussion. The theme essentially at that time was that stop treating the industry like a cash cow. Issues regarding infrastructure, ROW, and so on, and that started changing. And that started changing into, of course, the pandemic had its own effect, and the discussion at that time was that how do you keep the wheels of the economy running, the wheels of the nation functioning, and the telecom industry did indeed play a great role in that. And then the entire theme last year was this uh, uh, was this relationship between the government and the industry, and a very proactive government making very significant changes, and that has had its impact on the entire telecom industry in the last 1 year, and I'm sure this is something that will continue and will start this entire journey of transformation. So with this panel, what I will do is that I will very quickly ask specific questions. Aditya Khemka talked about three big trends which are there. He talked about 5G, he talked about satellite, and he talked about enterprise. So let me first take up these three themes, and perhaps Akhil, I can start with you, and your view on the entire satellite communications.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's on.
First of all, let me compliment Aditya and Deloitte for a really good report. I think very timely. They covered every aspect of what the industry is evolving into. So, excellent work there. Satellite is, of course, a very interesting area. And, I have been looking at it very closely, being on the board of OneWeb. And I'm astounded at the way that industry, especially under the Leo, the low Earth orbit constellations is developing. And when I say I'm astounded, it is because the cost per GB which I am seeing on the LEO constellations is in fact even today significantly lower than many of the Western economies, where the cost per GB on 4G is much higher than on the current systems. And when the next generation LEO system comes, that cost further falls. Of course, this is a big race between terrestrial and satellite. Terrestrial will go from 4G to 5G. The cost slashes significantly, maybe then to 6G. So this race will go on, and the advantage will be that over a period of 2 or 3 years, I can see a lot of complementarity coming between satellite communication and terrestrial ones. With the result that a day will come when the terrestrial companies will have satellite as a backup and may not have to go to very far-flung areas where economics doesn't work. So it's a very,
And especially in
let
the
us
rural
say,
sector, it will be of
yeah,
tremendous
well,
benefit.
low density rural areas, mountains,
Remote areas.
deserts. So I think this sector is going to see some very exciting times.
Wonderful. Balaji, let me take the second theme with you, which was on enterprise connectivity. And I think you've been driving a lot in terms of the enterprise connectivity. So, how do you see that rolling out?
Thank you, PG. I think this is first of all, congratulations on the 40th anniversary. I mean,
Thank you.
we've literally seen the publication grow from strength to strength, and so really congratulations on that first. And I think Deloitte's report was very, very timely. Enterprises, I think it's an area that is already ripe with opportunity. I think as an organization, we see about a significant portion of our revenue streams come from enterprises, and it's only likely to grow in the times to come with the advent of 5G networks. Already with 4G, a lot of enterprise solutions had come in. I think Mr. Pandey was talking about IoT and deployment at scale. That's driven a lot of revenue stream. We've actually been working on very interesting pilots in factory automation, in other industry verticals, whether it's health, education, or other aspects of cutting costs, driving revenue, and providing customer intimacy. These are the three big promises that we find with 4G and 5G already coming into the hands of enterprises. And with the virtualization and digitalization taking place in their processes, this opportunity for telecom companies to play a significant role has only increased in the last 18 months, and it's only going to increase even more in times to come. And I'm quite certain that it could help to a certain extent the monetization of the investment that will be going into 5G for the industry as a whole, as has been seen elsewhere, because somehow on the consumer dimension, the 5G hasn't yet given revenue streams anywhere in the world. But enterprises is the place where, as I said, if you're able to have customer intimacy, you are therefore able to sell more and drive revenues for enterprises, or also reduce cost. Then that cost takeout itself is another aspect why people are willing to pay for those services. So I see a great future for enterprises going forward in the quarters to come as well. You'll hear a lot more about it.
And Ravi, in terms of 5G, which was the third theme that Aditya talked about, uh, you have rolled out 5G, and of course, you rolled it out at no cost. Where are what are the use cases that are emerging for 5G, and where do you see the revenue coming out of 5G?
Thank you, Pradeep. Congratulations on your 40th anniversary. And I grew up as a student reading Data Quest and Voice&Data while when I was engineering student. Yeah. So uh, I think coming to 5G, uh, we are as India, Airtel, and Jio. I think we are rolling out fastest network of the world, and use cases uh, are we are waiting for the use cases to come, because with edge computing, with the kind of benefits which 5G provides in terms of uh, network slicing, speed, lower latency, which can actually support a lot of services across verticals. And it's like you have created the highway, now you are waiting for the users to come, and that would actually lead to revenue. So the revenue may not come from special only download and the way it was coming for 4G. The use cases which came for 4G around 15, 16 were majorly around e-commerce, aggregation, etc., which actually pushed whole 4G ecosystem. And in fact, growth of economy in terms of getting a lot of unicorns during that time, which actually progressed because of the 4G revolution which came 5-7 years ago. In 5G, I expect a different kind of use cases which will come, and we'll see. There are a lot of startups who are working in that direction, whether it is AI or AI related thing, machine learning, IoT, etc. And that would actually drive the revenue for 5G. And one more, I think, as Akhil also mentioned, one phenomena which is happening is convergence. Convergence at the network layer, convergence at the service layer. So earlier, if you see the earlier old generation network used to be different kind of networks, like this is satellite network, this is a terrestrial network, or this is a backhaul network. One thing which has happened now, and in next few years, which we are going to see, would be the death of this boundaries. So it would be boundaryless network, whether it is telecommunication two-way or it is broadcasting riding over telecom, because it's a subset of telecom.
Right.
And the networks would no longer be like one device which is mobile. Your theme is mobile economy.
Correct.
So the driver for economy would be the device in your hand, irrespective of whether you want M2M or you want say you want to view content, you want to be connected through satellite, etc.
So you are
One
saying that
device
there
would
will be
actually provide you everything.
a different level of accessibility that will be available to users. And what about affordability?
Affordability, I think the discussion here is not that it is not affordable. Discussion here is how to monetize.
How to exactly? So
So-
therefore, I'm saying that
So
do you
affordability
see
in India is not a question at all.
do you see in the future sort of higher charges to the end user and so on?
No, I may not be able to comment on that. But
Okay.
one thing I can say, often we talk about digital divide in India. This is one term I think in India we should stop talking about it. We don't have digital divide in India. Our penetration at the rural level and the lowest strata of economy is much better than any of the country of the world. So I think this is a hangover from old, and we still talk about digital divide. So affordability is not an issue. Is the point which I wanted to say.
So Balaji, let's now talk about the new face of the government, and Vodafone has been at the center stage of that. So what has been your experience, and are you still working like a? I remember last year at TLF you had said that there's been absolutely no interference and so on, very smooth functioning. So are you working like a public sector or as a private enterprise? Your own experience.
Surprise
It
of
would
the
be
question.
great.
Frankly, it was not even a question to be asked into my mind. We are absolutely run as a professional board-led company should be. So I'm even surprised that you're asking that question, PG. But nevertheless, let me be very clear. It was the government's intention that this company will compete in the market and be a robust player. What has been done as an industry package. Frankly, there's more than one company that took the package. Airtel also took the moratorium, which gave them 4 years of cash flow relief, allows them to put their 5G network. So I think the government has done it because they saw industry in stress. It was not done with a company in mind. They did it because the industry needed it. There were structural reforms, there were financial reforms, and there were also procedural reforms that were undertaken. And I would say that the company is in the right place. The government has made its intention clear that they want to have a robust competitive industry with 4 players, 3 private and 1 government. And we are on the job. The equity conversion has taken place recently. We are in the process of getting a fundraise done. We are doing our serious conversations with vendors so that we can get also going on the 5G rollouts, which will happen in the coming quarters. as has been pointed by one of our promoters already, Mr. Birla made that statement, coming soon. So obviously we are on that journey of going ahead and build on what we have. We are very, very grateful to the government for what they've done, which is to basically intervene for the industry to become more competitive. For a 1.4 billion people country, we definitely need to have 4 operators, and I think that's really what they've signaled. And
So you're saying that they've been proactive, they've been supportive. It's not a 36 ka akada, but a 63 ka sort
not
of
at
a
all, not at
relationship,
all.
which is
It is
today
clear
there
what they've
between.
done. They're very decisive, and we as an organization also extremely decisive on what we need to do to basically be relevant in the marketplace.
That's really wonderful and good to know that, I mean, that is what has led to a complete sort of a transformation. Akhil, infrastructure. There are still challenges as far as infrastructure is concerned. And what do you have to say about that? And especially, now the talk of 6G is there. So tomorrow there will be a 6G infrastructure and so on. So, your views on that.
I think on one area where India can be really proud of is on the digital infrastructure. And again, the big credit goes to the government because what they have done in terms of the right of way policy, street furniture, very proactive. In fact, many of those rules and policies have come even before TRA recommendation. And that just shows the sincerity of purpose and determination to make things happen. That's the reason why 5G is rolling out quickly. 6G will also roll out on the same infrastructure. There is no separate digital infrastructure required for 6G other than the electronics.
Right.
So operators will just, like they have put up 5G equipment, will put up 6G. But it's still way out. I think let's really make the most out of 5G right now. But I think India is in a fairly decent position on digital infrastructure. T.R. Dua, the Director General of DIPA, will be addressing some of the sessions. So I would encourage him to elaborate on what all is happening. Tremendous amount of work, massive investment by the infrastructure providers. And all I can say is that the infrastructure provider industry is ready to put in those billions of dollars which are required, especially as we go into 5G. That will need many more microcells, which will come in very handy when we go for 6G. So that is being done and very satisfactory. Of course, in a country like India, there will be challenges. There are many a time challenges at the local levels, but overall, I would say more reason to celebrate than complain.
And, do you see a role of BSNL in that in the future?
I think all 4 players involved in this industry, Vodafone, BSNL, Jio, Airtel, we all have a complementary role to play. And that I firmly believe that it's not about me versus him or somebody else. Unless we all thrive in this industry, I don't think telecom industry has won. So we all need to not only survive, but thrive. And for that, I think infrastructure created by everyone just needs to be shared. So is BSNL. They have massive infrastructure. BharatNet has a lot of fiber. All that needs to be shared.
All that
and
needs
it's
to be
being
shared and
and
made.
is being shared.
Right. So great, that we are talking of not survive but thrive, right? Yeah, but for the past decade, survival was the real issue,
still is.
and it
Still
still
is.
is, right? Now, so therefore, if we have to move from the survive to thrive, what are the new challenges, new set of challenges, and what is it that you now would want going ahead, the further interventions that need to be done by the industry, by the government? This is a question to all 3 of you, and perhaps let's start with you.
Well, to my mind, it's a simple matter. This industry, which is at less than 200 rupees ARPU, has got to go to 300. And I'm talking about ARPU. I'm not talking of the price per GB, but the ARPU has got to go up. So as we introduce 5G and people consume more data, the price per GB must come down, but the overall ARPU must go up. And that is the only way this industry will thrive. And it's about time. If it doesn't, sooner or later it will really, really suffer. And that's where I feel the 5G use case is not a problem. There are, to my mind, plenty of use cases. Mobile itself is a big use case. People are consuming more data, but we need to charge. And we need to charge by giving 5G in slightly larger packages, so that the overall ARPU goes up. Other than that, I don't think we need any intervention by government. The industry needs to collaborate and make sure that the ARPUs do go up. The return on capital employed in this industry is pathetically low.
Pathetic. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think
Balaji.
Akhil has, given a very good summary. The return on capital has to go up. Sharing is a great way of cutting costs and taking out costs. That needs to be done because the industry needs to be efficient. That's the order of the day. Was the order of the day, and it requires to be in the future as well. And of course, the revenue going up through the ARPU is a critical thing. Again, I think Ravi was also talking about the use cases will come. We just need to make sure that we do our acceleration by doing more and more collaborative work. I think this industry has a great opportunity to put itself in the center of this whole thing and take innovative startups, other companies that are working in this space, whether they're IT or system integrators, and package that whole thing because of customer intimacy that we have. Even collaborate in some cases where if some of these system integrators have better knowledge of what is required to be done on the enterprise side, then it's okay. But the whole thing is about stitching up partnerships and taking that forward-looking step that also then builds up the revenue stream on the enterprise side, which needs to be also kept up, apart from some excellent points that Akhil spoke about. Thank you.
Yeah, Ravi.
This industry technology life cycle is decreasing, and it would seek a lot of capex cycle going into it from 2G to when we move towards 5G. When we are rolling out 5G, we are talking of 6G. So that's where I think Akhil's point, ROC and return on investment is very critical, so that there is sufficient investment going into the network. And that's very critical not only for the telecom sector per se, but all the sectors which are dependent upon the telecommunication networks. Because if that is not there, all digital India and many things which we talk about would suffer actually. So that's why it is very, very important that this industry should always remain healthy financially and keep on investing.
Okay, before I come to my last segment, I want to do a different thing, and which is that each of you can ask one question to anyone else on the panel.
Akhil, maybe I can. You have a dual role. I mean, not just the Airtel part, but also you've been driving the whole the DEPA thing and the entire thing. So, where do you think the next opportunities are in the sharing space to take the cost out? Because that's another element apart from the ARPU uplift.
I think ultimately what has been proven is that this infrastructure, whether it's electronic side or the passive side, they are very capital intensive. And unless they are juiced out and really utilized to the hill, which can only come by sharing the infrastructure, economics won't work. Now, we have already very successfully done it on towers, as you know. Next round has to be on fiber. And ultimately, we need to deliberate maybe netcos at some point of time, whereby capacity is created under some network companies, and there are marketing companies who can market. That may be a little away right now, but maybe edge data centers, fiber, these will be the next steps.
And perhaps Airtel may have a question to ask Jio, and Jio may have a question to ask Airtel.
I think Ravi is younger to me.
So, my question to Akhil would be, what are the policy changes which you feel that would enable a reduction in cost, which are still left? While I think that government has done a lot of changes which helps and enable that. So what are the key policy changes which you think?
Look, obviously, this industry is taxed like a sin industry still. And that is illogical. That must change. Something has been done on the spectrum charges, but not enough. USO, there's absolutely no reason why it should continue. I think the taxes on this industry, GST, 18% GST on telecom services, just doesn't stand up. So the overall taxation definitely needs to come down. The spectrum should have been much cheaper, but unfortunately, that's already done. So no point talking about that. But the ongoing taxes need to really come down. Okay, so my turn to ask a question. So we've talked about Ravi, the return on capital employed. तो बढ़ाओ दाम यार, किसके लिए रुके हुए हो? हम तो बढ़ा ही देंगे.
I don't know the answer to this.
Answer that.
Okay, so one very last sort of a question that I would like to, 1 minute responses on this, please. In terms of skills and competencies, Mr. Pandey also talked about the skills and competencies. What skills and competencies does the industry require? What are the challenges there?
This industry, by very nature, is an evolving industry. We have gone from 2G to 5G in no time.
Right.
Similarly, the human skills will just keep pace. I don't see it
So
as a challenge.
don't see it as a big
और जो थोड़ा challenge आएगा वो AI पूरा कर देगा. So it's okay.
Okay.
Not a
So talking about AI, Balaji, I'm sure the future panel discussions will be moderated by probably an AI agent and not by Pradeep Gupta. But till that happens.
But the training needs to come from Pradeep still.
So till that happens, how do you see industry benefiting from?
No, it's a fabulous question. Actually, even as a company ourselves, we have been working with first creating data lakes, and from there basically using AI ML into every element of our customer engagements. Even our employee engagement is driven to a great extent by the the advances that have been made in the technology, with of course a human face and making sure that it is relevant. And as Akhil said, I think Indians have demonstrated the ability to literally unlearn and relearn, and that's really the strength of our nation. And I believe that it will continue to keep us in good health.
Okay. And Ravi, the future opportunities, where do you see the future opportunities for the industry?
I think for telecom operators, the future opportunities lies in creating the value. The TSPs cannot be just carrier. So the value comes with going into the verticals, creating a lot of use cases, working with the various startups to actually deliver the complete value to the consumer. So that's where I think the opportunity lies.
So thank you very much, panelists. I think this has really been a great discussion. People have spoken from the heart. So a big round of applause to Akhil, to Balaji, and to Ravi.